they tell you inflation is a common enemy, that when gas prices rise, when grocery bills spike, we are all in this together. That is a massive lie. The truth is, inflation is not an accident. It is a policy. And more brutally, it is a tool for wealth transfer. What if I told you that every time a new dollar bill is printed, it does not make society richer, but instead silently steals your time, your sweat, and your labor to transfer it straight into the pockets of those standing closest to the financial spigot? Look at your wallet right now. Do you feel like you are working harder than 5 years ago, yet your savings by less? That anxiety about your job, about debt, about never being able to afford a home, that feeling is not random. It is the result of a secret financial mechanism designed to turn you into fuel for the wealth of the top 1%. We are living in the final stages of an economic cycle that history calls the Great Wealth Transfer. And if you do not understand how the Cantillon effect is operating right inside your wallet, you will be the one paying for their party. Where are you watching this video from? New York, London, or somewhere else struggling under the weight of rising prices? Comment your location below and the real inflation rate you are feeling, not the number on TV. And hit subscribe right now, because in the next 15 minutes, I am going to expose the unfiltered, naked truths about the financial system they do not want you to know. This is the truth about your money.
To understand who is picking your pocket today, we have to travel back in time to 18th century France. Imagine a man named Richard Cantillon. He was not a king, but he saw what kings missed. He watched John Law, a financial wizard of that era, who printed a massive amount of paper money to solve France's debt. Cantillon realized a cold rule: money is not neutral. When new money is pumped into the economy, it does not fall evenly on everyone like rain. It flows like honey, thick and slow. Those who receive this honey first, the kings, the bankers, the close merchants, they can use that new money to buy land, goods, and assets when prices have not yet risen. They get rich by spending the money before inflation hits. But by the time that flow reaches the farmers, the blacksmiths, meaning people like you and me today, the prices of bread, firewood, and housing have already skyrocketed. The rich buy assets cheap with newly printed money. The poor receive devalued wages to buy expensive goods. Sound familiar? Let us fast forward to 2020 and 2023. The Federal Reserve and global central banks printed trillions of dollars in just a few months. They called it relief. They called it economic stimulus. But look at who received that money first. Major corporations got loans at interest rates near 0%. Investment banks on Wall Street got direct liquidity injections. What did they do with that money? They bought back their own stock. They bought real estate. They acquired smaller companies. The stock market hit historic highs while the real economy was frozen. Meanwhile, what did you get? A few small stimulus checks? And then the punch of groceries costing 30% more, housing prices doubling, and wages staying flat. Sound familiar? Richard Cantillon named this phenomenon 300 years ago, the Cantillon Effect. The rule is simple. Whoever is closest to the money printer wins. Whoever is furthest from the money printer loses. And in the 21st century, the money printer is no longer in the king's palace. It is in glass-wrapped skyscrapers, hidden behind complex terms they intentionally create so you do not understand. We see history repeating, but at the speed of light. In the 18th century, it took years for prices to soar. Today, with high-frequency trading and global capital flows, wealth transfer happens in an instant. By the time you see news about a stimulus package on TV, the ultra-rich have already bought assets and shifted that inflation onto you. Sound familiar? That is exactly what is happening. But Cantillon is just the tip of the iceberg. there is a mechanism even more sophisticated, darker. A ghost standing behind the central banks pulling the strings for this entire process. And this is where the story really begins. You think the Federal Reserve or the central bank is the most powerful place? You think inflation is simply due to printing too much paper money? You are wrong. Printing paper money is child's play. The real mechanism, the financial weapon of mass destruction pointed at your wallet, does not lie in the bills in your pocket. It lies in a place called the shadow banking system and the repo market. Let me introduce you to the main character in this conspiracy. Not a person, but an action. Rehypothecation. This is how the elite do not need to print money literally. They print purchasing power out of thin air. They use an asset, for example a treasury bond, use it as collateral to borrow money, then use that money to buy more assets, then use the new assets as collateral to borrow again. $1 of capital is multiplied 10, 20, even 50 times. They create a massive amount of virtual money circulating in the financial system, pushing the prices of real estate, stocks, and Bitcoin to the moon. But what is the scary part? When the system collapses, and it always collapses, they are not the ones paying the debt. The government steps in, using your tax money, your labor, to bail out this system, with the excuse that it is too big to fail. They keep the profits, you bear the risks. The puppet masters behind this mechanism are not the president, not the Fed chairman. They are the primary dealers and the asset management giants whose power you may have never truly understood. You will not believe the name holding the keys to the entire global economy, the entity that owns everything, from the house you rent to the company you work for. The receipt for their party is wilder and more brutal than you think, and the name of that entity is BlackRock, Vanguard, and the Repo Market network. But do not let the names distract you. Focus on the mechanism. How do they take assets from your pocket without touching your wallet? Imagine the economy as a giant casino. You are a normal player. You have to work 8 hours a day, sweat and tears, to exchange for chips, which are your wages, to enter the game. Each chip represents your lifetime. But on the VIP floor, high above, there is another group of players. They do not need to work for chips. They have a special agreement with the house, the central bank. Here is how the repo market works, the real money printing machine. Step 1. Collateral. Financial giants buy government bonds. These are considered the safest assets. Step 2. Leverage. They take those bonds to the repo market, pledge them to borrow cash overnight at extremely cheap interest rates. Step 3. Reinvest. They use that cash to buy riskier assets like stocks, real estate, derivatives. Step 4. The Cantillon loop. Asset prices rise due to this cash flow. They then use the appreciated assets to pledge and borrow even more. This is the dark secret. While you have to save every penny to buy a house, they use that very house, which has been inflated in price, as leverage to buy 10 other houses. Look at the numbers that speak. They do not lie, and they are screaming. Number 1. $2.2 trillion. That is the record amount of money that sat in the Fed's reverse repo facility in 2023. A massive amount of cash sitting dead in the banking system, just to serve the financial sector, while small businesses could not get loans. Number 2. 40%. Nearly 40% of all US dollars that ever existed in history were printed in just 12 to 18 months after the pandemic. Did you see your assets increase by 40%, or did you only see your cost of living rise by 40%? Number 3. 399 to 1. In 1965, a CEO only earned 20 times more than a worker. In 2021, that ratio was 399 times. This is not because the CEO is 20 times smarter. This is the result of asset prices, like stock options for CEOs, being inflated, while wages for workers are crushed by inflation. This is greed systematized. When the Fed lowers interest rates and pumps money, they create an illusion of prosperity. The stock market is green, real estate is hot, but that is not economic growth. That is asset inflation. And this is the most important concept you need to etch into your mind: moral hazard. In a truly free market, if you invest wrong, you lose money.
But in the current parasitic financial system, if the ultra-rich win, they keep the money. If they lose, the repo system jams, liquidity disappears, and the Fed is forced to intervene by printing more money. Who pays for that extra printing? You do, through the devaluation of the money in your pocket. You are working harder to stand still. That is not your fault. It is an engineered collapse of the middle class. They use the Cantillon effect to suck the real value of the economy into financial assets. The result is a polarized world. On one side are the asset holders getting richer due to inflation, and on the other side are the currency holders getting poorer due to inflation. If you are holding cash, you are standing at the end of the stream. You are taking the floodwaters after the fertile silt has been extracted by the upper class.
The game is changing, and it is accelerating. The modern system is not just faster, it is more ruthless. With the advent of central bank digital currencies or CBDCs being rolled out, the Cantillon loop is about to be upgraded into a digital prison. Then, they will not only control the value of your money, they will control how you spend it. We are standing on the threshold of a crisis much worse than 2008. Why? Because this time, public debt is too high to repay, and the only tool they have left is to print money, and print money until the currency returns to its true value, zero. The greatest danger is not the market collapse. The greatest danger is our own denial. We still trust financial institutions built on borrowed time. We still believe that working hard and saving money in the bank is the path to wealth. Meanwhile, the giant vacuum cleaner named the Cantillon Effect is operating at full capacity right beneath our feet. Do not be the last to realize the truth. Knowledge is the only weapon you have in this uneven battle. You cannot stop them from printing money, but you can learn how they play so you do not become a victim. You can switch from being a currency holder to a real asset holder. I want to ask you one final question before ending this video. After everything you just heard, are we wiser now? Or are we still walking the same path to the abyss? Only this time the guides are wearing better suits. If you feel the anger, the skepticism, and the desire to protect your wealth, share this video. Do not let your family and friends sleep in the illusion. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. I will continue to come back with more naked truths, deeper analysis to help you navigate the coming financial storm. Do not just watch, act. Your financial future depends on where you stand in this Cantillon flow. I will see you in the next video where we will dissect how to escape this system.